1.
Good afternoon, sir. We are from Norso and we are currently taking Bachelor of Technology in Livelihood Education major in Home Economics. We are all third year and I am Ingenita Solinap.
I am Esparagosa.
I am Detangco.
So our task, sir, as a task of our Ed 301, which is about curriculum, we are asked to conduct a interview about in the principal about the BMGU, sir. So here's our question.
Our question, sir, is how did you develop the BMGO towards enriching teaching practice?
Um, if we're talking about mission vision, the Department of Education has already this so-called generic nationwide generic vision mission. So, but then down to the field, we also have some. I mean, we simplify some of our instructions, but of course, hitting the vision mission of our department. No, so in time of the pandemic, that was a difficult time for us, no, because we have to reach out our learners. We cannot have this instruction face to face like this time. So we use the so-called printed module. That was distance learning using printed modules. No? So that was the time when the pandemic struck us, no, nationwide. But later on, thanks God, this time we already have come back to the regular face-to-face classes. So full implementation, that was November 2nd, and until now, no, hopefully we will be able to finish the school year with this setup that we're able to meet our learners on site. Now, regarding the implementation of the different interventions that the school is implementing, so that the learners will be able to acquire the so-called milk or the most essential learning, no, competencies. So we tried to diagnose our learners first because of the pandemic, and that's why we diagnosed, we act on it, and we're able to determine the weakness or the needs of our learners. Because of the pandemic, we found out that some of our learners have the so-called non-readers. There are some of them, especially grade 7. You could just imagine grade 7, some of them, few of them are non-readers. So how to deal with this? Because if you do not know how to read, you will never learn.
Yes, sir.
Learn as expected. You learn a little. But if we're talking about the vision that at the end of this period, the learners have these skills, it's very difficult for them to acquire the skills because they don't know how to read. So we have to address that issue first, and that's why in our school program we have the so-called 2 hours in a week for literacy enrichment activities, wherein the learners and the teachers will have this enhancement or enrichment activities for the learners to take in order for them to acquire that skill of reading. You know, in reading, it's not just the learners will be able to pronounce the word. It's not actually in the case of high school. Maybe it's in the elementary. But in high school, if you read and you cannot comprehend what you are reading, you are considered as non-reader.
Yes.
So they should read the words and comprehend what they are reading. That is called reader in the secondary. So to enhance the skills, we have this so-called innovation. We started from the program, the class program, wherein in 1 week they have 2 hours reading enhancement activities. Now we also find out that some of the learners have difficulty in numbers, and that is called numeracy problem. So what we did, we also give them 2 hours aside from the usual classes of the 8 subjects. We also give additional 2 hours for them to enhance their numeracy skills. Okay. And that's happening any day in the week. Not exactly that it will happen on Friday, but it could be in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that there will be no boring schedule sometimes. So our schedule also must be flexible enough to meet the needs of the learners. So that's how we try to hit the target, because if we are talking about niche of vision, that is our target. So hitting the target is you have to implement our mission, and that is one of our strategies implemented in school right now. Okay.
Our second question, sir, again is, as a school principal, how are you going to make sure that the teacher in Sibulan Night High School are implementing the curriculum?
Well, it's first is monitoring. You have to monitor. Or we have the so-called log sheet that the teachers are using. So in the log sheet, you can see the milk there, the most essential learning competencies. So and there is also the learner, the code, what number of weeks, is it in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or fourth quarter. So using that monitoring tool, I I will be able to determine whether the teacher is following the curriculum. Another thing is, do we really uh, consider the learning style of the learners? Of course. We cannot just focus our attention on the number of competencies that the learner should learn in a particular reading period, but we also have to consider the learning style, the capability of the learners to learn. We must make sure that before moving to the next competency, that competency must be mastered by the learners. Because it is useless to jump one competency to the next, and yet that competency is not yet mastered by the learners. It is useless. Otherwise, especially the learners nowadays have the so-called less long-term memory. They can easily forget. No? So we have to provide enrichment activities for them so that they will be able to master the competency before going to the next competency. So simply making sure that the teachers are implementing the curriculum, then using the monitoring tool. We devise monitoring tool. And another thing is through class observation. I have also conducted several class observations. It could be announced or unannounced, or by just passing by while the teacher is having their classes. Try to observe what's going on in the class. And that is one way of monitoring. One way of trying to find out whether the teacher is implementing the curriculum. Okay? So,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
okay.